Welcome to Leaders Recon, where we discuss leadership, warrior skills, and other unique opportunities within the G3 Leader Development Branch. I'm your host, Joshua Carr, and today we have with us Brigadier General Adrian, the G357, a special guest to talk about division alignment for training. Sir, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks. It's great to be here and appreciate the opportunity.
So, sir, before we dive into this topic of division alignment for training and some of the things that have gone into it, I guess, for those in our audience who don't know your background, could you give us a, unique experience or history that you want to share with everyone?
Okay, so obviously in 33 years, I've had quite a few unique experiences, as you can imagine. Probably something unique about me. It's not really about me, but back in the early 2000s, there was, if you remember, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers was exhumed, and to find out by DNA test who it was, because there was some
For Vietnam, right? Is that correct?
from Vietnam. Yeah, sorry, but because there was some thought that we knew who it was. Well, it turned out by DNA test it was my cousin, Michael Blassie. He was an Air Force pilot that had gone down in Vietnam.
Oh, really?
So I was actually able to attend his funeral. They brought his remains back to Jefferson Barracks in Missouri and attended his funeral there as a captain.
Oh, really? That's I've heard this story before, like going to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, but I didn't realize
It was his sister, my other cousin, who brought forward all the evidence and worked her way up through the Pentagon. You can imagine how difficult it was to get the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers opened. It was almost impossible, but she did it and found her brother.
Wow, that's a really unique experience right there. You're a Missouri Guardsman, correct, sir? So, and you went to Missouri State. Grew up. Did you start out as a traditional guardsman, or were you active duty military, or what was?
I did. No, I've always been a guardsman. I enlisted in 1988, and shortly thereafter went, continued college and got into ROTC and received my commission in 1990. So, but I've always been. I started off traditional, right after my company command. In the 203rd Engineer Battalion, I went on an ADOS tour at Fort Leonard Wood, and from that turned into AGR.
So, you're on Title 10 AGR status now. Is that correct, or?
Yes, for actually ADOS as GOs. We some of us are ADOS, but
really? Okay.
but my whole career I've been Title 10 for over 20 years.
Oh, wow. So I guess that brings us into your position as a GO here, sir, and talking about division alignment for training. I know it's we're taking this holistic approach to division alignment for training to, from what I understand, empower these 8 division headquarters to not just be division headquarters, but combat capable divisions. Can you give us a quick overview, sir, of like what is division alignment for training?
I can. The whole thing really, it's been tried before, first of all, with less success, but General Hokanson, when he was here as a director, it was his signature effort to bring those divisions together and create these combat capable divisions. And I think the reason it's succeeding now is because of the way the Army is moving towards multi-domain operations, where the division is, again, the unit of action in MDO. So the force, I believe, is buying into it. It's the right time for us to build those combat capable divisions. So you'll have a division. Some division headquarters, as you know, are just that, just division headquarters. They don't have any down trace relationships. Others in Texas or Pennsylvania, for example, have their BCTs and their sustainment brigades all resident in their states. That created an imbalance between our divisions. Some had great deal of experience leading their brigades. Others didn't. They only saw their units at warfighters. So this is going to provide an opportunity for the divisions to grow, but also gives a great opportunity for the brigades and the BCTs and down trace units to get some get the benefit of the experience and leadership available at the division level to improve their readiness as well.
So you hit on something there, sir, that was kind of interesting, to us in leader development. When you mentioned like the leadership aspect of it. I don't think there's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any singular division that has all of its units in a single state. I know Texas and Pennsylvania are pretty close, but I think there's still some outlying unit out there. When it comes to division alignment for training related to that leader development piece of it, how do you foresee that working as we start to develop these relationships across state lines?
Well, that's really a central piece of the program is to enable better talent management and leader development throughout the division for the better of the whole Guard. So if you've got a division headquarters, for example, in Kansas, the 35th ID, without BCTs in either of those two states, but Kansas or Missouri, it was difficult to grow those senior leaders in the division as an effective leadership team on the division. So what the division alignment for training enables is reaching down into those subordinate brigades that may be in a different state and allowing them to provide their senior leaders and key leaders in key positions inside the division. So now with the 35th Division, for example, has the 45th IBCT in Oklahoma, the 39th in Arkansas, and the 155 ABCT out of Mississippi.
Okay.
Those are aligned under the division. Those units and states really will be able to provide or compete their leaders to key positions on the division, and in some cases vice versa, back to key leadership positions in the brigades and the subordinate brigades as well. So it really it provides for a good opportunity for the free flow of talent in between states that we hadn't really seen before. It's going to just make the Guard a better place.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask, sir. So, I did an IST within, that's my division right there. So I was in the 39th IBCT, and I IST'd over to the 45th as part of the new Airborne Battalion. And one of the things that I ran into was the challenge of the IST, moving over there to take the position was huge. So how do you foresee that working with the division alignment for training stuff? I know that it was talked about offering some particular billets for funded ID travel from out of state. Can you give us a little bit of a history of that?
So that's going to differ between each divisions, because how they manage this talent management piece is really up to the tags, because at the end of the day, those tags control everything that happens with respect to the Guard inside their state. So what you'll get are memorandums of agreement between the tags and the division commander on how they execute this division line for training. There's several ways you can do that. You can have them all do an interstate transfer, and then we provide what we provide is the IDT travel to allow them to not have to take it out of hide flying from Mississippi to Kansas for drill. We'll pay for that. But the particulars about whether they IST or whether there's another way that they allow that out-of-state soldier to hold a key leader billet within their state, that's up to the individual tags within that region.
And that was going to be one of my follow-up questions, sir, was, with the tags, how have the tags been involved with the process as we're discussing division alignment for training? And
intimately. I mean, they're right there. They're everything we do with regard to the division alignment for training has to have complete buy-in from the tags. They're gonna, at the end of the day, they're gonna sign that memorandum of agreement that enables the alignment to effectively happen. So the tags have been right in the middle of it from the very beginning.
Piggybacking off of that, sir, when we're talking about talent management and, setting up leaders for success for, more senior assignments out of state potentially, I guess, what is your message to senior leaders that are concerned about that movement piece, right? Whether it's, an 04 or 05, that's taken an assignment with the division headquarters that's out of his state, but then he's going to be coming back. I guess, what's your message to senior leaders to try to give them confidence and like, hey, this is how we're setting up the Guard for success as a whole?
I would say that that there will be challenges. There's going to be some hiccups here and there, some things that don't go exactly right, but I would say that the opportunity is worth the risk. Everything we do is a risk decision, right? Me sitting here talking to you is a risk decision. But the payoff in this case is worth the risk. When you've got an opportunity as an 05 in a state that doesn't have a division, to go and be on a division staff and have that on your record, you can't. That's worth it, right? So at the same time, the same with if you have a division in your state, but there's no BCT, you've got an opportunity to compete for a brigade command in another state. Whatever it takes to get across that, get through the administrative wickets to get to that other state is, in my opinion anyway, worth the effort and worth the whatever inconvenience you might encounter.
Because is the intent behind it, sir, that we're just like basically, regardless of the state that you're from, like we're just trying to find the best leaders to put in the right positions to...
That's exactly right. We're trying to find the best leaders available to take those key leadership positions in whether it be the division or the brigades and their staffs. So at the end of the day, we're gonna end up with better units because we're getting a broader view of the talent that's out there and available, and being able to bring it to the right place at the right time. So, and it's not just any state; it's only those states who are contributing to the alignment that have a brigade or a unit that's part of the alignment.
So, like, essentially, it's the, in for my example, right? I believe our division headquarters is Kansas, so it's the states like that you mentioned before: Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Mississippi. So it's like those states that have downtrace units. That's who we're talking about within the alignment for that division. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
So, sir, we've all heard the mantra that you have to wait for someone to retire or die, essentially, to get promoted within your state in the Guard at times. In respect to division alignment for training, does this, open up some of those opportunities? Again, I know you've kind of hit on this already, but, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it increases the number of available positions that you might be qualified for. So it does open up the aperture a little bit. These are positions, these key positions are ones that you don't hold people in there forever because they're so valuable. Soldiers and leaders are always rotating through those positions on their way to the next rank or the next responsibility. So they'll be open regularly and available for competition. So I think it does help with that, in that you've got more to choose from in terms of career progression.
Well, and I think you may have talked about this before at a forum I sat in, sir. I can't remember, but we talked about essentially division alignment for training, making us more like our sister service components in some regards, with having similar experiences for leaders on their way up, where as a lot of, Guard officers will spend a substantial amount of time in a staff role and much less time in any of these key leadership roles. Does division alignment for training allow for these guardsmen to get more exposure, I guess, to, roles that they would be in if we did a full scale, or a large scale mobilization?
Well, I think it certainly opens up, again, it opens up the possibility of holding some of these key positions that you wouldn't have had before. So again, if you don't have a division in your state, you're never going to be a Division G3 or a Division G4 or whatever it may be. So this opens up that possibility, and it's another thing to work for. It's another thing to shoot for, and it's going to make everybody better. So as we move forward.
So do you see in the future? You mentioned the shift from the brigade to the division being the unit of action. Do you foresee in the future, as we build out division alignment for training and these relationships get grown between the tags of the various states, that we do exercises at the division level more frequently?
Well, I think that the exercises for the divisions are we've got the division war fighter, which is the key exercise for any division. But what you are going to see is divisions participating more in the brigade's training. So, for example, when a brigade goes to the CTC, what we're hoping to see is division TACs, as the active component does. They'll send a division TAC down to that CTC to help drive the division, absorb some of the requirements for sustainment and that sort of thing, play the part of a division headquarters, which you would normally have in a battle. And without that, it's a lot harder on the BCT in the box without that higher level of command over the top, helping to coordinate fires and aviation, for example. So that's what we're hoping to see, and we're starting to see that quite a bit. Whereas in the past you've seen state assistant adjutant general be the senior trainer for BCT at a NTC or JRTC rotation. Now we're starting to see a division deputy commander from another state coming to brief the FORCECOM commander on BCT's rotation as the senior trainer. So it's already starting to work like that, and again, I think it's just going to make us better. The other thing, when you talk about warfighters, so I don't know that warfighters will change that much, except we're now seeing Guard BCTs being pulled into the warfighters more frequently than they had in the past. So, and we'll try as we move forward to line up those aligned BCTs with their division and their warfighters. So it's working. It's gonna take a while. Some of those exercises are scheduled a couple years in advance, so it'll take a while to get all the way we want it, but it's moving in the right direction.
So talking about senior leaders, sir, one of the things we know is recently, like Major General Johnson just got picked up as a division commander on the active component as a guardsman. Do you foresee, as we do division alignment for training and start grooming some of our best leaders within the organization, that we'll see more crossover between the active component and the guard at some of those senior level billets?
Well, I think so. So General Johnson had some unique experience. Worked deployed for some key senior leaders now. So that is not necessarily an indicator, but I can tell you this: as we continue to build the readiness of our divisions and our BCTs, and get better and better through the relationships that are between the division and the brigade that naturally bring that leader development, I think we will get more competitive, and you may see some of that. We've got right now probably the best relationship between the Guard and the regular Army that we've ever seen, at least in my career. It's a great relationship, and as long as we keep building strong leaders, I'm sure they'll be in consideration for any job in the Army.
So shifting gears a little bit, sir, from division alignment for training to your role as the G357. I guess, can you tell us what some of your focus areas or priorities are moving forward as the G357 a day?
Well, I'll tell you, if it takes more than 5 minutes for this to get published, it'll be something totally different.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what I'm thinking about right now. Obviously, right now as we film this, that we're coming out of the main large portion of the Capitol response after the events of 6 January. We're reducing to a smaller footprint that'll carry on through mid-March. So that's my primary focus now, making sure that the inflow and outflow of forces out of the National Capital Region is smooth, and that those soldiers have everything they need to sustain for a little bit longer than we'd originally planned for. So working that transition, that's the top thing right now. Some other things going on are you may have heard of regionally aligned readiness modernization model. This is an effort within the Army, and they call it rearm. It's an effort within the Army to change how they generate forces and how they build readiness across the Army. So it's a new readiness model, but it's also a new force generation model. So we've got a lot of there's a lot of work going on in the department to move this initiative forward. To be honest, at the end of the day, soldiers on the ground probably won't notice a thing about it, but it's important here strategically in terms of how we generate forces and how we modernize ourselves while still maintaining healthy competition around the world. So that's a big one.
And if you don't mind me asking a caveat off of that, sir, talking about that, you kind of mentioned, the large scale mobilization we just did here with the domestic response at the Capitol, and then over the last year, there's been a number of these across the country. How is that, in relation to the modernization efforts and whatnot? How is that, weighing into some of the decisions you're making on the utilization of the Guard as it relates to the balance, the work-life balance?
I'll tell you. So one thing I want to mention. I'm glad you stopped me there, because I want everybody to know that the Army is incredibly proud of the Army National Guard right now. What we did over the past 3 weeks, we moved 26,000 soldiers in about a week and a half. That's the equivalent of almost a full corps. And we moved it in a very, very short timeline. Quite frankly, a lot of folks in the Army were surprised that we were able to do that. And so everybody should be really proud of their Guard and the way that we responded when the nation needed us. And it was important. The Guard came and secured the peaceful transition of power within this country. So it's an incredibly huge achievement that all your listeners participated in. So I just wanted everybody to know how proud everybody here in the DC area is of the Guard, and we're getting a lot of thanks and kudos for what they pulled off. So now, to answer your question, yes. So that's our message starting to come out now. And for me personally, I'll be talking with the Force Comm commander later today, and that's one of the things I'll tell him is there's going to be some impacts to this. Now, we had the COVID response initially, thousands and thousands of soldiers responding to the COVID, and then we had the summertime civil disturbance. That was a very large response across the Guard, and now this Capitol response, and now we're getting ready to roll into a large effort from the national level. The new president wants to vaccinate the country as quickly as we can, and we'll probably be involved in some of that. So there are going to be some readiness impacts. There's going to be some readiness or some impacts to what we can participate in based on soldiers' time. the employers have a vote. That's something that families, employers have a vote in the availability of soldiers, and we're aware of that. We're cognizant of it. What it's hard to tell with a great deal of clarity is when and where that is, right? So we'll continue to work with the states, but we're certainly not pushing back on any state that comes online and says, hey, that exercise I signed up for, we can't do that anymore because we understand fully, and I think the Army does too. We're starting to message that we may not be available as much as we normally would be for exercises. I will say though, our mobilizations, we will make that mission. So that's one thing we won't fail on, and I think all the states and adjutants general understand that, and they protect those units as best they can from these other duties. So everybody, that's our number one priority in terms of making sure that those units are ready and available when it's time to mobilize.
So shifting a little bit, sir, I know you talked about some of your priorities here, and we've talked about leader development as it relates to division alignment for training. I think I can remember your promotion event. It was a year and a half ago now, roughly, when you became a general officer. Can you give some of our listeners who are senior leaders out there, your advice or perspective change as you switched from an 06 to an 07? What was that look? What does that look like for you? And like looking back on it now, how has your perspective shifted as a general officer?
First of all, it was surreal, right? So the just the opportunity to serve at this level is just amazing, and you pinch yourself every day trying to that you got the opportunity. So, but in terms of perspective, it certainly broadens your perspective. So, I don't think about what's best for the G3 or the G5 or even always the Army National Guard. As a GO, you've got to broaden your perspective and think about what's best for the entire Army, entire organization, and the nation, actually, right? So it broadens your perspective quite a bit. Obviously, my first job is to make sure that the Army Guard's interests are protected. But again, that's the whole 54. I'm still a Missouri Guardsman, and so sometimes it's difficult to balance that when things are impacting your own state. But that's what you do as a GO, right? And so probably the biggest thing is broadening your perspective and how you look at problems and solutions in terms of what's best for the larger organization rather than your small part of it.
So on that note, sir, kind of, for those out there who, are aspiring to be general officers one day, what's your advice to them, when it comes to leader development, developing themselves, career?
I would say the first, I get this question a lot from folks I mentor. I would say the most important thing is do the job you're in, right? You may have a career path where you want to get to certain other jobs. The first thing you do is do the job you're in and do it the best you can. The next thing would be if you can solve your boss's problems, you'll probably be successful. And if you can help your boss solve his boss's problems, you'll be even more successful. Those are three pieces of advice I always give folks when they ask me for career advice: is really focus on what you're doing right now, and then help your boss be successful.
On that note, of advice, do you have some resources? We usually ask most of our guests this, or like, is there particular resources that you would recommend to our listeners out there, on the leader development side, whether that's, books or,
Well, I'll tell you, what I would say is read, and a good source for reading material is our Chief of Staff of the Army's reading list. All the senior leaders of the DoD, really, their reading lists. I'm reading right now a book off of the current CSA's reading list called Range, and it talks about how a diversity of experiences is a better indicator of success than specialization, for example. So
That's interesting.
so there's a lot of good books out there, but the most important thing is just read. Just broaden your mind and think about more than just the Army. Read outside of the military.
Sir, before we let you go here, is there any last words of wisdom you have for our company level leaders out there? We usually ask this of all of our guests that come on, sir.
Yeah, I think so. So when I think back to myself as a company grade leader, I didn't think anything past company command. I enlisted as an E3 based on bringing some folks in with me. I enlisted as an E3 in this company, and my goal was to go from E3 to O3 in the same company. And that was it. That's my military goal in life. And so I would say just keep your eyes on the ball. Just, again, do your job the best you can.
So, sir, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing some of your time and experience and wisdom on division alignment for training, your priorities, and more.
Hey, it was great to be here, and really enjoyed the conversation. And I think it's important to get the word out on the division alignment for training. It is an important program, and I hope everybody enjoyed the conversation as much as I did.
Well, thank you, sir. If you would like more information on any of the topics discussed today, please visit our social media pages in the links below. Tune in to Leaders Recon over the next few weeks as we bring in today's leaders and pioneers to discuss their experiences, share their wisdom, and help you grow as a leader. If you like this episode of Leaders Recon, please don't forget to subscribe below and leave us a 5-star review. You can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.